Heading into the final race of the 2021 Formula 1 season, two drivers had a shot at becoming world champion. Britain's 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton and a young Dutch driver looking to land his first world title. This is Max Verstappen.
Here we go with Max Verstappen as Verstappen goes from 17th on the grid to the lead in Brazil. Wasn't even a contest.
Max Verstappen overtaking Nico Rosberg. Switches early Verstappen, late braking. Leclerc this time might just have to give way as he goes off the track.
That sealed it. Talk us through it.
Racing. That's how it's called. Otherwise, it's better to stay home.
Verstappen down the inside on Daniel Ricciardo into turn 6. He's made up yet another place.
Verstappen, there's no stopping him today. Brilliant from Max Verstappen. Verstappen is in a world of his own.
The 2021 season would be earth-shattering for the world of Formula 1.
Once again, it's wheel to wheel. Hamilton and Verstappen, and this time Verstappen and Hamilton have crashed out, and they are both out.
The long-standing dominance of Mercedes and Hamilton was being challenged by their old rival Red Bull and their new championship hopeful, Verstappen. It would all come to a head in Abu Dhabi, the final race of the season. One driver looking for their first ever title, and the other looking to become its most decorated. As these two great rivals battled for the lead further down the grid, a car with no hope of winning the title would have a hand in deciding it. Canadian driver Nicholas Latifi would crash, bringing out the safety car and bringing the race to a crawl. The race director would turn to his rulebook. If the clerk of the course considers it safe to do so, and the message "lapped cars may now overtake" has been sent to all competitors using the official messaging system, any cars that have been lapped by the leader will be required to pass the cars on the lead lap and the safety car. 5 drivers now stood between Hamilton and Verstappen, but in a twist of fate and a moment that will live forever, the race director would allow them, and only them, to move.
Michael, this isn't right. Michael, that is so not right.
This is it. This is it.
Bringing our two rivals back together. And with Max on fresh tyres, with 2 laps to go, the champion of the 2021 Formula 1 season was about to be decided in Abu Dhabi. But what exactly led us and Max Verstappen to this moment in time? Was it luck or a series of events that would shape arguably the greatest skill set of any modern driver? Max Emilian Verstappen was born in Flanders, Belgium. His father, former Formula 1 driver Jos Verstappen, the most successful Dutch driver at that point, and his mother, Sophie Kumpen, herself one of only 3 women to have won the World Karting Championship in 1995, Max had racing literally in his blood at a genetic level. But his path to Formula 1 was anything but typical. Cautious not to push Max towards racing, his father Jos had a rule. Max had to be 6 years old before he would buy him his first go-kart. Sure, Max had driven other things, and Jos had seen, even as young as 2 years old, that Max seemed to have an understanding on how to control even small electric toy cars. But he was firm that Max needed to be older before he could decide for himself whether the path to Formula 1 was what he wanted. But a chance meeting with some other young drivers would kickstart his career. At a go-kart track in Genk, Max would see drivers younger than himself behind the wheel of their own cars. And within a few days, his father would be pushed to buy Max a car for himself. Max being the driving force behind this decision. Even at 5 years old, he knew what he wanted to do. But this is where the hard work began for the young Dutchman. The next 10 years would mould this raw talent into something the world has not seen before or since. His training program was intense. Jos would keep Max out on track in the cold and wet. When other young drivers had retreated into the warmth, Jos and Max would remain. Jos would even make changes and sometimes break parts of the car to help Max feel and recognize issues and come up with his own solutions to remain competitive. Much like how Jim Clark could feel the smallest wear on his car's parts, Max was being trained to listen to his kart and understand what it was telling him. It might have seemed brutal for such a small boy, but this hardship helped Max develop a skill set no other driver could match. From the moment Max began to enter championships, he was winning them, becoming a karting champion in Belgium in 2006 and 2007. Max would step up and win yet again in 2008. Max dominated the Belgian karting scene and quickly moved on to the international stage. where the competition would become more fierce, and Max would taste his first defeat, but it was a turning point in his career. He would finish second behind an older and more experienced Alex Albon, a name you should all recognise. This crop of drivers would include many current Formula 1 racers, giving Max the toughest competition possible, pushing him to drive faster than ever before. Luckily, Max had developed a highly aggressive driving style in his early karting days. Similar to his father's, but with a more stable mentality, Max would use the rules and his car to slice through the competition. Dispatching Esteban Ocon in 2011, Max looked set to dominate everything and move quickly into the Formula Junior program. But 2011 would also see Max's climb halted by a young Monegasque driver by the name of Charles Leclerc. Max did not let this stop him, becoming the youngest driver to race in the KF1 class at world level. Max would showcase how advanced he was compared to the rest of the field, and in 2013, his journey would be supercharged. At just 15 years old, Max would win 3 championships in a single season, 2 European and a World, something nobody has ever achieved, beating his father's record of 2 European championships in the same season. He would avenge his defeat to Leclerc by beating him and becoming the youngest driver to win the World Championship. The next step for Max was obvious. Formula Junior awaited him. Wins in his first ever race and eliminating more future Formula 1 drivers, Max was unstoppable. Racing in Formula 3 at just 16, Max would capture 10 victories, including a record 6 in a row, becoming the youngest race winner and pole sitter in Formula 3 history, and capturing the most wins that season. Despite not winning the championship due to retirements, it was clear Max had unnatural speed and ability, and in 2014, he would leapfrog Formula 2 altogether and land a seat at Toro Rosso. The outfit being the junior team to Red Bull, Max was now in the seat of a true Formula 1 car, except he nearly ended up in a Mercedes, with their junior program offering him a seat also. This move made him the youngest driver in Formula 1 history by nearly 2 years, and he nearly scored points on his debut, a mechanical issue ending that hope. But the very next race would silence any doubters that this F3 kid who jumped F2 to enter Formula 1 full-time was the real deal. Max would qualify 6th and finish 7th, scoring his first Formula 1 points and securing yet another record, the youngest driver to score points in a Formula 1 race, beating out current and former drivers like Jenson Button, Sebastian Vettel, Lando Norris and Lance Strulovic. Max would get the nod from team principal Christian Horner in 2016 to move up to the Red Bull team.
And it's lights out and away we go. It was a super start.
Now behind the wheel of one of the most competitive cars on the grid, Verstappen had the tools to match his skill set, and he would do just that. Capturing his first win in Spain by holding off veteran Kimi Raikkonen, Max would set another record, replacing Sebastian Vettel as the youngest ever Grand Prix winner. But the next few years would see Max come under fire, not only from other drivers, but from the press and the wider Formula 1 community. His aggressive driving style, inherited from his father and perfected in karting, would see him have several high-profile incidents. Max was known for aggressive defending, moving under braking to block overtakes, and his dive bomb overtaking style, throwing the car deep into a corner, forcing his opponent wide, and often off the track to gain track position. It would even lead the FIA to ban moving under braking for all future Formula 1 seasons, but this did not stop the Verstappen show. A standout performance in Brazil would draw comparisons to the country's favourite son, dropping to 16th with 15 laps to go. After a typical rainstorm in Sao Paulo, Verstappen would carve his way through every other driver, making up 12 positions in 15 laps and landing himself on the podium. Max would also learn valuable lessons in his early seasons in F1, crashing and damaging his car during his antics, something that would cost drivers world titles. The young Verstappen would alter his style, becoming more stable and, most importantly, consistent, something that would help him break the world of Formula 1 in just a few seasons' time. After removing the safety car, our rivals now had 1 lap to make or break their dreams. Verstappen, ever aggressive and eager to restart on those faster, soft tyres, was biting at Lewis, and as the race got underway, it would surely be only a matter of time before a Max Verstappen dive bomb would come into play. Hamilton's job was clear: defend for his life for the next 3.2 miles, and he would become the most decorated driver in the sport's history. For Max, the next 3.2 miles would decide whether he becomes a world champion and sets his own record as the youngest ever to do it. At turn 5, Verstappen makes his move.
Is Verstappen far enough back? He's He's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton sees him coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
Verstappen now has the lead and the championship is in his sights. Hamilton would come back
Lewis
again.
Hamilton though, down the back straight. He's got a slipstream. He almost touches Verstappen. They almost make contact into turn 9. Verstappen stays ahead.
Max's racecraft, built from his time in karting and reimagined from his time in Formula 1, closes the door on Hamilton. Sliding onto the home straight in style, Max Verstappen becomes the youngest driver to ever win the Formula 1 World Championship.
Max Verstappen, you are the world champion! The world champion!
But our story doesn't end here. Despite an early season blip at Bahrain in 2022, Max picked up where he left off in 2021, taking the championship by nearly 150 points from his old karting rival, Charles Leclerc, and overturning the largest points deficit in history. 2023 would be a completely different affair. Max Verstappen and Red Bull would completely shut out every other driver and team on 21 of the 22 races. Max winning 19 with 21 podiums, both new records. Adding to the long list of records he already owns, these achievements pushed his standing even higher. But 2024 would bring some harsh truths to light, not only for Max, but for his Red Bull team. For far too long, Max's ability to overdrive the car and get far more from it than most other drivers meant Red Bull ignored many of its issues. By 2024, the other teams had caught up, and in most cases, surpassed the Red Bull car's capabilities. Now, Max no longer had the best car, and his ability couldn't make up for all of its shortcomings. This would lead to one of the most exciting championships in recent times, and with trouble off the circuit drawing more attention than Red Bull would have liked, the rest of the field set their sights on a vulnerable Verstappen. Despite the drama, Max would take the lead at the halfway point, the off-circuit issues seeming to not affect the team or their drivers, but the second half of the season would change this. For the first time in recent memory, Max would not win. In fact, he would fail to get a podium in 5 of the last 7 races. Luckily for him, the sheer number of competitors for the crown saved one single driver from capitalizing. Max would make it 4 titles in a row. 2025 then would be the chance to set more records, equal more rivals, and surpass more greats of the sport. Max has the natural talent and car feel of Jim Clark, the aggression of Schumacher, and the ability for the unbelievable like Senna. But in a single package, Max Verstappen then is not the next Senna, Clark, or Schumacher. He is the first Verstappen. You can check out this video on Jim Clark right here, or you can head over to our channel where we've covered more legends, not only from Formula 1, but the world of rally, including many videos on a wide host of cars,